Right, picture this. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, desperately ringing round like a teenager trying to salvage plans for Saturday night, begging his former deputy to come back to work. Not because he misses her company, mind you, but because he's absolutely terrified she might fancy his job instead. Welcome to the absolute circus that is British politics in 2024, where Keir Starmer is supposedly so rattled by Angela Rayner that is offering her cabinet positions like they're going out of business sale items. And the best bit? She's reportedly telling him to do one. You genuinely could not make this up if you tried. Quick favor, if you are loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 94% of viewers have not yet. It is free, takes a second, and means a world to us. Cheers if you did. Now back to the show. So let us set the scene properly, shall we? Sir Keir Starmer, the man who currently has the approval rating of a damn flannel and the charisma of a particularly boring spreadsheet, is apparently so worried about a leadership challenge from Angela Rayner that he has resorted to dangling cabinet positions in front of her like treats for a particularly unimpressed cat. According to reports that emerged over the weekend, Number 10 has been privately suggesting that Rayner could have her old job as housing secretary back. Oh, and this is where it gets properly cheeky. They might even give her the education secretary brief currently held by Bridget Phillipson. Imagine being Bridget Phillipson right now, reading the papers and discovering your boss is apparently willing to chuck your job at someone else just to keep them sweet. That is a political equivalent of your partner offering your side of the bed to their ex just to stop them from causing a scene at parties. Now, before we go any further, let us rewind a bit and talk about why Angela Rayner is not currently in the cabinet in the first place. Back in September, she resigned after a rather sticky scandal involving her tax affairs. Turns out she underpaid about £40,000 in stamp duty on a rather lovely 3-bedroom seaside flat in Hove, East Sussex. For those keeping score at home, that is roughly the same amount as a decent salary for most people in this country, but apparently just a rounding error when you are dealing with property investments. She stepped down, tail between her legs, while HMRC launched an inquiry into the whole mess. Classic British political drama. Really, someone gets caught with their hand in the cookie jar, resigns in disgrace, and then everyone spends the next few months pretending to be shocked while secretly plotting their comeback. But here's where the plot thickens like a gravy that has been left on the hob too long. Allies of Rayner are now claiming that she is going to be completely cleared by the HMRC inquiry. They reckon the taxman will find she made an inadvertent error on the stamp duty payment for her £800,000 apartment. Inadvertent error. That is political speak for, whoops, my bad, did not mean to save myself 40 grand. If the ruling goes her way, she could avoid paying a £12,000 fine and might not even have to cough up the full amount of outstanding tax. More importantly for the Westminster rumour mill, it would herald her triumphant return to frontline politics and potentially pave the way for her own tilt at the leadership. And that, my friends, is what has got Keir Starmer's knickers in such a tremendous twist. But wait, there's more. Because if one leadership challenge was not enough drama for your money, enter stage left where Streeting, the health secretary and professional stirrer-in-chief. Apparently, allies of Streeting have been pressing Rayner to sign up to what has been dubbed a joint ticket for the Labour leadership. They are calling it Wangela, which sounds less like a political alliance and more like a dodgy energy drink you would find in a corner shop. The deal on the table? Rayner would get the Deputy Prime Minister position back if she threw her support behind Streeting's leadership bid. It is like watching people trade Pokemon cards, except the cards are actual government positions and the stakes are who gets to run the country. Brilliant stuff, really. Now, you might be wondering why everyone is suddenly so desperate to court Angela Rayner's favor. Well, despite the whole tax scandal business, she remains hugely popular among left-wing Labour activists and members of Parliament. She has got that working-class authenticity that Starmer dreams about while sipping his morning oat milk latte in his North London townhouse. She is seen as genuine, relatable, and not afraid to tell it like it is, which in the carefully managed world of modern politics is about as rare as a decent pasty outside of Cornwall. And speaking of Starmer, he has been laying it on thicker than Marmite recently when talking about his former deputy. Last month, he was gushing that Rayner was the best example ever of social mobility and that she remains a big voice in the Labour movement. He even went so far as to say, "Do I want Angela back at some stage? Yes, absolutely." which is political speak for please come back. Everyone thinks you are more likable than me, and I'm absolutely bricking it about the local elections. It is the equivalent of your ex posting vague inspirational quotes on social media whilst drunk texting you at 2 a.m. asking if you remember the good times. But here's a delicious twist in this tale. Sources close to Rayner say she is resisting both approaches. She is apparently not interested in Starmer's cabinet position offers, and she is not jumping on board the Angela Express either. Instead, she is preparing her own bid for number 10 after what I expected to be catastrophic local election result for Labour in May. And when I say catastrophic, I mean absolutely biblical. Recent polling has Labour averaging around 18% of the vote. 18%. That is far below Nigel Farage's Reform Party, which is sitting pretty on 27%. To put that in perspective, Labour currently has fewer people willing to vote for them than there are people who genuinely enjoy going to the dentist. It is electoral carnage of the highest order. And you have got to feel a tiny bit sorry for Rachel Reeves in all of this, have you not? The Chancellor delivered what is being universally described as a disastrous budget, and now she is watching her party implode in the polls whilst everyone plots against her boss. Though to be fair, sympathy is somewhat limited given that she herself had a spot of bother when the Daily Mail revealed she had broken the law by renting out her home without the correct license. But in that case, Starmer rushed to her defense, saying there was no need for further action over her inadvertent error. Funny how that word inadvertent keeps popping up, is it not? It is becoming the go-to excuse for politicians who get caught doing dodgy things. Did I break the law? Yes. Was it inadvertent? Absolutely. Now please leave me alone whilst I count my property portfolio. Here is where Rayner's anger comes into play, though she is reportedly still absolutely fuming at Downing Street for not doing more to back her during the tax controversy, especially when compared to the support that was immediately offered to Reeves. One ally of Rayner told the Mail on Sunday, she is going to be completely cleared by HMRC and that leave the path clear for her to come back. Starmer is terrified of her and has been offering her several jobs, but at the moment she is rejecting them. She wants to be free to develop her own agenda from outside the cabinet. Translation. She is playing the long game, building up her support base, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It is political chess at its finest, except everyone is playing in public, and we are all watching whilst eating popcorn. And let us talk about poor Bridget Phillipson for a moment, shall we? The current education secretary must be having the worst time of it. Rumours swirled before Starmer's reshuffle in September that she would be sacked. She survived, but later suggested she had been the victim of sexist briefings by number 10. And now, here we are again, with reports that her job might be offered to Rayner as a sweetener. Imagine turning up to work every day knowing that your boss has your position listed on the political equivalent of eBay, ready to flog it off to the highest bidder or whoever might prevent a leadership challenge. That is the kind of job security that makes 0 hours contracts look positively stable. Whereas Streeting, for his part, has denied being on maneuvers, which is exactly what someone who is absolutely on maneuvers would say. Labour sources have claimed that his allies have made huge overtures to Rayner, presumably involving long lunches, promises of future cooperation, and perhaps a very detailed PowerPoint presentation about why Angela is definitely going to be a thing. But according to those close to Rayner, she is not buying what Streeting is selling either. Former Tory Cabinet Minister Lord Gove weighed in on all the manoeuvring, calling it a sure sign of decline for the Prime Minister. He added that Rayner is in a better position than Streeting and would not meekly accept him as a route back to respectability. Which is a very polite way of saying she is not going to play second fiddle to anyone. Thank you very much. The whole situation is absolutely fascinating because it reveals just how precarious Starmer's position has become. Here is a man who won a landslide victory not that long ago, and now he is supposedly begging his former deputy to come back to shore up his position while simultaneously trying to prevent her from mounting her own leadership challenge. It is like watching someone try to put out a fire by dousing it with petrol. The desperation is palpable, and you can almost smell it through your screen. What makes this even more entertaining is the sheer number of people currently jockeying for position within Labour. You have got Starmer trying to cling on, Rayner positioning herself for a potential leadership bid, Streeting building alliances and trying to create this Angela phenomenon, and Reeves trying to recover from her budget disaster. It is like watching a very slow-motion car crash where all the passengers are simultaneously trying to grab the steering wheel whilst arguing about who gets to choose the music. British politics at its absolute finest. And let us not forget the broader context here. Labour is languishing in the polls at 18%, trailing behind Reform by a country mile. The local elections in May are shaping up to be an absolute bloodbath. If the results are as bad as everyone expects, Starmer's position will become even more untenable, and that is when things will really kick off. Rayner knows this, Streeting knows this, and everyone else in Westminster definitely knows this. Now, Number 10 sources have denied that any job offer has been made to Rayner, which is exactly what they would say. Is it not? Though they did point out that the Prime Minister had openly said he wanted her back in the cabinet at some stage. At some stage. That is beautifully vague, is it not? It could mean next week, next year, or possibly never, depending on how the polling numbers look, and whether she decides to challenge him for the top job. A spokesman for Streeting has dismissed claims that his allies approached Rayner as a silly season story, which is political speak for "we absolutely did that, but we are going to pretend we did not until it becomes advantageous to admit it."